the nervous system is really the operating system of the body. And like the sort of, I guess most people can grasp the concept of an operating system. It runs the show. And then the breath is the remote control of that operating system. So that's our sort of way in. But for me, I really like one of the biggest things I teach is about the autonomic nervous system. And I like to explain, or my sort of take on things is there's a bit of a mismatch now. Like our nervous system developed over eons, all right? And it developed in an environment that's very different to today. And we don't adapt that fast. It's not like our nervous system's like, oh, this is the modern world where there's telephones and lights and artificial, like all of the stuff that happens in today's world that didn't happen hundreds of thousands of years ago when our nervous system developed. So we need to sometimes take control over that system, and our breath is the way we can do it. And so quite often I think the sympathetic nervous system gets a bit of a bad rap because it's the stress response. And let's remember, it keeps us alive. Like that's what wakes you up in the morning. That's how you jump out of a near coming car. Like sympathetic nervous system is not bad. Again, it's contextual. If you spend all your day in the sympathetic nervous system, sure, terrible, right? But to say that it's bad is missing that context if it's a dynamic, flexible system.
Sure.
But what happens to a lot of people, because there's all of these little micro stresses, like we're no longer dealing with the tiger coming out of the bushes, which is how the nervous system developed. Okay, I need to respond to this threat and I need to run away or I need to fight. Now I'm dealing with emails and deadlines and traffic and poor sleep. The generic response is the same, all right? My body thinks there's hundreds of little tigers coming at me, and the emails and the deadlines are all little tigers, all right? And so that jacks up the nervous system a little bit. How do we come back into that? I'm back in the cave. I got away from the tiger. All right. There's a few strategies. Like we can reverse engineer the nervous system. We can use our visual field. We can use our voice. We can use our posture. But breathing's the fastest way. Breathing controls that nervous system, because if I start taking those long, slow breaths, I send that message that there's no tigers attacking me because my breathing's not reflecting that. So thinking of the nervous system as really what runs the show, and the breathing, which is the sort of remote control to that nervous system. And by taking control of your breath, you start to learn how to use that remote, right? Because again, like you wake up in the middle of the night and you're awake, what are you going to do to go to sleep? Okay, do we reach for a sleeping pill or perhaps some less constructive habits? Or can I use my breath, which will tell the nervous system to turn off again? Like maybe it's mid-afternoon, you don't want to have another coffee, but you've got a deadline or a presentation to do. How do I turn the nervous system? How do I get into that sympathetic state? Increase the arousal levels. Again, breath's the fastest way to do that. So I can start to grab a hold of that system and direct the nervous system to what's relevant in that moment.
Yeah, I love that. And that's something I use if I wake up during the night and need to fall back asleep. I use breath work. I like to do box breathing. There's different formats of box breathing, but I usually just do 4, inhale, hold for 2 seconds, exhale 6, hold for 2, inhale 4, just repeat 5 or 6, 7 times. And that really works. It really helps me fall back asleep.
Yeah, I've encountered the exact same thing. My sleep was for quite a long time really bad until I discovered breath work. And one of the things that would keep me up, or I'd wake up in the middle of the night and then my mind would start. And I'm like, what do I have to do tomorrow? What didn't I get done today? And I'd just be like, stuck in this loop. And then breath work, I think it's a 2-part effectiveness. Number 1 is that nervous system regulation. You're breathing in a way that's telling yourself parasympathetic, rest and digest. Let's turn the nervous system off. But if you're also counting, like I'm counting in for 4, I hold for 2, I'm counting out for 6, you can't think while you're counting.
True.
So it sort of takes away that distraction of like preparing for tomorrow because you just start counting. And that's quite like calming for the nervous system, because that's what kept me up was my mind. It wasn't that I was like ready to jump out of bed. It was like I couldn't stop thinking. And so introducing where I actually like count in my head and breathe in a pattern that's going to turn the nervous system into that more relaxed state was super effective. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to do 5 rounds. And by round 3, I would wake up the next day like, oh, I guess that worked.